I'm going to sing a few songs for you.
Okay.
I'm just going to give you a little bit about my story, why bridge means so much to me, and then we're going to get to the most fun and interesting part, which is the food. So I am originally from Somalia. For those of you who don't know Somalia, Somalia has been a war-torn country ever since the 90s. So I was actually born 2 years after the war. So I don't know what a country without the war looked like. So I don't know what that looked like. When I was growing up as a child, growing up in a war-torn country was my normal. I didn't know other kids in another part of the world had a different life, or they didn't wake up every morning and didn't hear gunshots or bombing. So, but I used to be a very happy child because my father was a very successful businessman, and one of the businesses we had was an ice cream shop. And my father hired me when I was 7 years old to come up. So I had only one job. My job was to come up with a new ice cream flavor every week. And I couldn't repeat the same flavors so yeah, I have went through so many different flavors in life. Some of them are very nice, and some of them are almost dangerous. So,
my name's Barbie Stolzfus. I was born and raised in Lancaster. I live about 2 miles from here with my husband Elam and 5 children. A question that sometimes non-Amish people ask me is, do I ever feel like I miss out on being Amish? And I will let you decide that answer after I'm done speaking. My childhood, I like to tell people, was almost like a storybook. I was the youngest of 4 siblings. My siblings, of course, I think that the reason my childhood was like a storybook was because I'm probably a little bit spoiled being the baby. As a child, I interacted with my school friends and my church friends, but we lived in a very rural countryside. So outside of church and school, my main interaction was with my siblings, and we had 2 pet mules which we rode all over the country. We scootered a lot. We walked to our 2.5 one-room schoolhouse. And then when I was 16, as Phil talked about the Rumspringa, I started Rumspringing. Contrary to, it's sort of a myth about Rumspringa. A lot of people think that when we're 16, our parents just turn us loose and we can do whatever we wish. And I do like to ask people, what parent in their right mind would not mind to have their children drinking drugs, being promiscuous, and Amish parents are no different. Even though we do Rumspringa, our parents are still very concerned and do discourage that sort of behavior. It's a time of life where we interact with other youth our age. We play volleyball, we sing, and unfortunately we are human like everybody else, so some of our youth do turn to drinking and drugs, but by and large it is discouraged, and it's not something that the largest percentage of our youth do, but there's still a small percentage that do that, but most of them are contented with the volleyball and just the interaction. A typical age for marriage is about 20, 21 for the girls, but that does vary. 22 to 24 for the men. I was 21 when I married, and I had my first child when I was 22, my last child when I was 34. So most of us, the women, we're homemakers. We might do have some side projects. I like to write for the Anabaptist newspapers in the area, and I do like to do crafts and sell them. And Lancaster County is great for that because we do have a lot of tourists coming into Lancaster County. I do enjoy the lifestyle as the Amish. However, there's one thing that Amish teenagers do that I'm sure your teenagers do not do. I have a 20-year-old, a 17-year-old, a 15-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 7-year-old. But to talk about the teenagers, there's one thing our teenagers do that yours, I'm sure, do not. They actually roll their eyes and they grunt when I speak to them. So all that being said, I do enjoy being the mom of a teenager. My alarm goes off at 4:45. We're very traditional, Amish women mostly. We pack our men's lunches. We make their breakfast. Often till 8 o'clock, I've maybe done 2 or 3 loads of laundry, packed 4 lunches. I do like to walk with my mom in the mornings. And then during the summer, most Amish women are big on freezing and canning. So that's what we do in the summer. And then in the winter, we sew our clothes for the rest of the year. We sew most of our own clothes. This past summer, we went on a road trip. We did 9,500 miles. I've always, as in growing up, occasionally felt a little bit different. But most times it doesn't bother me, but on the road trip I realized how different we are perceived. I discovered this early on in the trip. My husband would go first to kind of weave the way through the people. I would come up last to make sure there's no stragglers with the children. So if I was a little bit distance behind, I discovered that the people would think my husband or the children are it, so they would start whispering about us. I realized that they don't know that I'm still coming, and they would actually be saying things to each other like, "What was that? Look at them." And so I did actually feel really conscious of the difference. In Lancaster County, most people are used to us. Still, we do get some odd looks, and especially people are very concerned that we would be treating our animals correctly, and we run into that a lot. And I find it unfortunate. I would never mistreat an animal, but we are like you, by and large, we don't. But we still do get some odd looks, like when we're driving our horse, that the people would be afraid that it would be too much for the horse, not realizing that we drive horses that are bred for that type of work. The children read a lot, they play, they have a pony, my parents have 2 or 3 donkeys, so that's what they do. And unfortunately, again, they're different from your children. They actually argue occasionally, which I don't enjoy that. I love being a mom, but there's still some parts you don't have to tell anybody that I don't really enjoy. And if they're fighting, I was in the hospital several years ago, and the phone rang, and I couldn't even lift my head off the pillow. I was that sick, and they called me to see who should get the new book. So that is, yes, just the life, I guess, of being an Amish mom. Is that they fight, and if anybody in the question and answers, maybe you would have an answer for me how to keep my kids from fighting. So I think that's basically all I have for today, but I do want to say that I just feel very fortunate to be a part of this great group. I feel it a privilege that Phil asked us to be here today. I feel honored to be a part, and I wish God's blessing on all of you.
It is only going to be in Lancaster where you're going to have an Amish family, a Syrian family, Somali guy from Nepal, and everybody else in the same room. So I'm really happy that we're all in a special place. Part of what I do with Bridge is connecting the stories to the food that we just ate. So I want to invite somebody from the Kilos family who are responsible for 70% of the food today. The mom is at the back, but because English is not her favorite language, Muhammad will be talking for the family. 2 years ago, when I had this idea of inviting people to our homes and becoming neighbors, I walked 1 block from our house, and the Kilos were our neighbors, and I said, I have this crazy idea where we're gonna invite people in your house every weekend and you're gonna be friends. And they said yes. So the Kilos have been the first family ever to agree with my crazy idea. And since then they've hosted, I think, close to 450 people in their home.
Hello everybody, my name is Mo. You can all call me Mo, it's a very easy name. Like Mustafa said, me and my family from Syria, we came to the United States in 2015. So a little bit over back on what caused us to come to this country. In 2011, the war started in Syria, and that was really difficult. Between first semester and second semester, we have like 3 weeks vacation. We go to visit our parents. Actually, it's 2 weeks. We go visit our grandparents where they live on the Turkish border, which will be Afrin, that city. So we were going on vacation. We came back. Our house, before we left, we could see a lot of noise we could hear. But when we came back, we saw our house was like destroyed, half of it. Our documents were gone. A lot of thieves getting in the houses, stealing things. It was terrible seeing that kind of stuff. We were all very young, so my parents said, this is not a good future, we gotta move back to our grandparents' house. We moved back to our grandparents' house. From there, my dad moved to Turkey. It was hard to find a place for himself so he could invite my family over so we all could go to Turkey and have a better future. So it took my dad 6 months, and the army knocked on the door. By the way, I know 4 languages, so English is my 4th language, so if I make any mistake, just forgive me. So the Kurdish army, my first language Kurdish, second Arabic, then I learned Turkish when I lived in Turkey, and then when I came to the United States, I had to learn English. I didn't know any word in English. So my family, the army knocked on our family. My brother was at 14 at the time, and they were going to take him so he could become like a fighter, Kurdish fighter, so he could save the city if something happens. We didn't really want that to happen, so my dad wanted him to go to Turkey so he could live with my dad, and they wouldn't take him. He moved to Turkey with my dad. 6 months later, we all follow up. Me, my mom, and then I have 3 other sisters, and I was the only man with them. So we had to cross the border and go to Turkey. It was crazy. There is only 3 situations you could get to Turkey. You either have to pay some money to those traffickers that are on the border. They know every way. They're really intelligent. They know everywhere how you could get to Turkey. Because part of it is Turkey is really difficult to get into. They have a lot of bombs on the ground. A lot of people have been not dying, but they heard of things happen on the ground that it's dangerous to get into. Either you have to pay the traffickers to get in the country, or they're gonna beat you up and send you back to your country, or you have to pay a lot of money. They're gonna call their friend. I just got some money from these people. They're gonna be coming in 2 miles, 3 miles, just come in front of them, try to also get some money from them. So they were taking advantage of us and doing basically illegal work for them. So we got to Turkey, yay, we're gonna start school again, and then our life gonna be totally changed. Not really. We weren't allowed to go to school because we lost all our documents in the war. It was terrible, but still, I don't know if you guys know, the Kurdish people and the Turkish people have really, really old history in 100 years ago. my family, it wasn't our choice to come to the United States. God is good. I'm all very thankful for what He has been done in our family's life. So we had to go through a lot of interviews, especially we lost our documents and everything. We went through a lot of interviews, meeting with a lot of Americans. There is judges, we were really young. Everybody have to sit in different rooms, judges listening to everybody's conversation, just to make sure everybody is in the same family. And they have to do incredibly back checks on you. America is really difficult to get into. Finally, all that happened. Then one day they called my dad. They said, "Congratulations, you're going to the United States of America." We didn't even choose this country, and didn't know where it's at. They said America, so we were really happy. At the same time, very, very nervous and sad. We're gonna start a new life, new language, new culture, and we're gonna meet new people. It was difficult.
So I just want to tell a little bit about starting my family. My parents, my family, they were originally from a small country in Southeast Asia called Bhutan, which is very close to India. So my family, my culture is Nepali, so they speak Nepali language. But the government, Bhutan has a king system, so they are very autocratic. They didn't like the culture, the language we speak, So they kicked us from the country. So we had to cross from Bhutan to India, and then we eventually came to a refugee camp in Nepal. So Nepal, even though Nepal is our forefather country, they speak the same language somewhat, but it was a different experiences. So I mostly grew up in the refugee camp most of my life. I was only 6 months when my family were forced, and they had to escape in the middle of the night with my uncles and their family, about 21 family together in a truck. So they came in the eastern part of Nepal, and I was about 1.5, something like that. So I lived in Nepal in the refugee camp for 18 years. So refugee camp is very different. There's a lack of basic needs like food, housing, clothing, anything is very basic. So there's only a survival, and there's nowhere to go. It's like, you're in the camp. Means like, you are not allowed to go outside the refugee camp to work. Health system is basic. They will only give you Sidamol, like this kind of Tylenol. Like, if you have headache, you get Tylenol. If you have diarrhea, you get Tylenol. In the refugee camp, only thing you can do is finish school. That's 10th grade. We're very fortunate. There are 7 camps, and we have about more than 100,000 Nepali refugees in Nepal. So after long, bilateral talks between India, Nepal, and Bhutan, it didn't work out, and then they decided that the UN gonna do a third country resettlement program. So we applied, and like Mustafa said, it's a very vigorous process. After 1.5 years, we're lucky enough to get accepted by the US. So my family came to Lancaster. I have a different imagination of America. Looking in the pictures and things like that, I just think everything is paved or concrete. But when I see coming from JFK to Lancaster, just mountains and hills like Nepal, that was really, strange. And then the guy who picked us from the JFK speaks Spanish. By that time, I didn't know the Spanish was a different language. So I didn't know what he was saying. We just felt like we're kidnapped. And I was very lucky enough, I was accepted to Elizabethtown College for my undergrad for bachelor's degree. So beginning the fall, I went to Htoo College, but I continued to do what I was doing. So I started a non-profit called Act for Humanity Foundation, and till today, it has been 7 years, we still mentor refugee high school and college students around Lancaster. So we have students from 5 different countries, one of them Syria, Nepal, Afghan, Iraq, and Somalia. So I graduated from Htoo College with my bachelor's in biology degree, and in 2016, I also became the U.S. citizen. So that's a blessing.
So when my family found out that we're coming to America, the first thing we did was we asked somebody to Google what Lancaster looks like. So, usually you see the magazine and you see New York and California, and you have the big buildings, and So when you think about America, you don't think about Lancaster, you don't think about the Amish folks. So the first thing we noticed that was the Amish. I was like, we're going to a unique place. And so when we came here, when we first came to America, we came in a very interesting time. So we have we have different holidays in my country, but we don't have anything called Halloween. My family came to America on a Halloween day, and nobody told us about it. I remember coming to our house, and after being jet lagged from 16 hours of flight, as we were being driven in, I was noticing all these decorations in our neighborhood, and I was thinking we're in an interesting place. We sat down and we started noticing that, I started looking at the window, and there were wonderful children in the costume, all these costumes. And I was thinking maybe we didn't pack the right clothes to live here. And then, all the trick-or-treaters started going from house to house, and then they eventually ended up in our house. And when they knock on the door and you open, they don't even introduce themselves. They're like, trick-or-treat. That was so bizarre to me. But I was expecting that maybe the neighbors are coming over to say hello. And I was thinking maybe this is a welcoming basket for us to welcome. So the first thing I've ever done in America, my first night, is I've taken children's candy. I have done this with two groups. The first group, that they just walked away, and the second group were confused, and the third group was all the parents who were confused about the person who's taking all the children. So that's my first day in America. 3 weeks later, I was my neighbor who worked in an Amish company called Sheds Unlimited. They build garages and sheds, and he offered me an opportunity to come work. So my first ever job in America was working with the Amish community. And then I realized quickly how slow I am in everything. It's like I thought I was the fastest person, but then I learned how to really work hard and how to really appreciate the people and the community around you. So that was my footing in America, and that's why this event is so special and unique to me.